Aloha.
Aloha.
I'm Jason Schwartz, and I have a great pleasure. I'm here with Terez Amato.
It's great to be here, Jason. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Terez is running for Hawaii State Senate District 6
That's correct.
office. Where is that area?
So that encompasses South and West Maui. So it's all the way from Ahihikinau, all the way the southernmost tip, all the way up north past Kapalua to Honolua and, Napili Bay, Ponokohau, up that way.
Wow. So in other words, the whole west side and all the whole south side.
That's correct. The whole coastline.
State Senate.
Yes.
You don't look like a career politician. What you running?
I am not a career politician, quite frankly. Running for state senate was the last thing I ever thought that I would consider doing. But I started paying attention. My children are getting older now, and I started taking more of an active role in what's been going on in our island. And, quite frankly, I watched a hearing last session in 2013. And what happened in that session made me, quite upset. It shocked me. And the manner in which that meeting was being conducted, it blew me away. And I thought, whoa, wait a minute, what's really going on around here? And I started paying attention and thought, hey, I need to get involved. We spend a lot of time saying someone has to do something. So, maybe it's my turn.
So, is there anything about what you saw that you want to identify? Or
really, it was just the manner in which the meeting was being conducted more than anything. Just the whole atmosphere in the room. It blew me away. It did not seem very professional or open or courteous to those who had taken time out of their day to come and testify.
I see. Well, I should probably start. Most candidates have a few issues or have ideas of what they'd like to be addressing when they go in. Mm-hmm. Anything like that for you, I'm sure?
Yeah, okay, so my basic platform is that I believe that the people of South and West Maui deserve a senator who's working for them, not the corporations or lobbyists. So I made a solid commitment never to take corporate or lobbyist donations. Now, going beyond that, our environment is truly our economy here. And I know that's kind of becoming a buzzword almost right now, but it's true. Here on an island, we have the opportunity to be entirely sustainable, yet we're not. We're importing 90% of our food. We're still dependent upon fossil fuel. We have the opportunity to be leading the way for the world, to be an example to the world. And yet that's not happening. And once you start looking at why we have so many issues here, why there's pollution, why, we've got archaic practices of burning oil for fuel and coal burning, when you start looking at that, you start realizing, hey, the corporate money is really the underlying cause of all of these issues. So for me, it's, you start by taking out the corporate money, so that no longer influences what's going on. And then you can begin working on the real issues that need to be addressed and actually serving the people of the island and providing for their needs.
When you say corporate money, do you mean that somehow it supports the candidates?
It does. So quite often, what happens is lobbyists make a donation and it's essentially buying favor, it's buying influence. And I'm not against lobbyists, they've got a job to do. But what I am against is the money in our politics, influencing votes and having more favor with our senators and elected officials than, say, you or me, an everyday person.
I guess politics is done two ways. One is to attack the opponent. Another would be to be able to put out your position on different things. You're obviously into renewable energy technology, self-sustainability.
That's correct.
You've been reading my mail. Okay. I've been talking about that for a long, long time. And clearly we need some new blood in there to be stronger advocates, because these things should have been here already.
They should have been, yes, a long time ago. Like I said, we should have been leading the way for the world. We should be an example.
Now you're from here.
So my family moved here in 1980 from San Francisco. I was 4 years old and I grew up here. So I wasn't born here, but I definitely grew up here.
And so you've been here and seen all kinds of changes and things proposed. And although county stuff, I always am amazed. There's a community plan. They spend time creating these general plans, and then they keep amending them. So it's like, how is that a plan for the future when the future
Keeps changing.
keeps changing? Right.
Well, okay, so you do have to be able to adapt and evolve, but you have to stick to your basic premise. And for me, that always goes back to looking at what the state constitution says, or what the charter, the county charter says, and looking at what it is that the people actually want for their community. And yet we're not seeing that happen so much. We see it being amended and changed so that, development can happen more easily without maybe much foresight to what people want to preserve as open spaces and, a pristine environment.
So you're a strong supporter of agriculture,
Yes?
but would you say, we have a thing coming up here locally. Anything specifically that you want to be able to do for the people in the South and the West? Any specific things for your district?
Well, I can tell you that the people in South Maui are very concerned about cane burning in general. Yet we also seem to understand that, yes, there are jobs there. People need to have a job. There's nothing wrong with that. We need to work. We need to survive. Yet at the same time, we don't need to be breathing toxic cane smoke or, dealing with the ash. And so for South Maui in particular, that's a big issue. And there are viable alternatives. We know that they can cut a certain percentage of the cane, or they can look at bringing in other crops, or maybe doing some soil remediation efforts and maybe growing food. There are a number of other possibilities. So for South Maui, that's a big issue. West Maui is a little bit different. They have different needs. For West Maui, it's a little more health-oriented. They need access to health care. They need access to the hospital. Right now, you get cut off if the poly's down, then hey, you get medevac to Maui Memorial, and that's great, but that's one person at a time. So if you have multiple critical care issues, you're kind of stuck there. So for the West Side, it's really a hospital and health care, and South Maui is a little more concerned about the environmental impact of what's going on.
I see. I oftentimes have seen, talking about health care. This is a kind of a new time in healthcare. I was bringing up to someone that anything needs to have wellness component built in.
Yes.
Have you looked at possible, I don't imagine you've looked specifically, but I think legislation somehow needs to be promoting to be able to encourage alternative healthcare, because I watch how people are getting sick, and like we're talking about, there's not enough facility here, yet they have the certificate of need. That may be something you can take a look at a state level.
The certificate of need is particularly interesting, yes. That came into play when they were examining the need for a hospital in South Maui in particular. Yeah. So that is something worth investigating, and we do need to have more wellness programs for sure. It needs to be accessible for the community.
Any thoughts about incentives for people to develop more jobs here that are not tourist based and are not, what can I say, shallow, low paying, slave type jobs?
Oh my.
Most people work for a plantation. This is a plantation system here because we have big corporations that have lots of people. In fact, with the GMO issue, oftentimes they'll bring up about there's possibility about losing jobs, and so someone's health and their basic sense of what they really should have is twisted by a need for jobs. That's why I'm bringing it up.
A sense of panic and a fear and urgency that, oh no, we've got to preserve our jobs no matter what they might be, whatever the impact is. Well, we can have good jobs, great. You can have agriculture. People can still be farmers. Why not grow different food? Why not grow food for the people so we're not importing 90%? If we started having many more small-scale farmers, more people will be put to work. We can do this. It's not impossible, and you can have good cutting-edge jobs. We should be leading the way with technology.
Right.
How about advancing technical jobs? The research park was a great idea. Never fully got off the ground. Got hit hard by the economy. But we can keep going with that, and quite honestly, it starts with education. Education is the foundation. If can give our students better opportunities, then they can stay here and create those new high-end tech jobs, you know, where we are living a fulfilled, sustainable life cycle, where we're not importing everything.
I imagine when you said the education, I thought about people talking about an audit of the Department of Education, which hasn't been done in 8 zillion years. You know, I mean, I was talking to one of the candidates, and we talked about how the property taxes here, which everyone is moaning about, are going up, are among the lowest in the country. And this candidate brought up that's because certain things are state. You have a feeling about education, about decentralization?
I actually do. So my children all attend public schools, and you know what I find is that quite often the schools themselves have a hard time getting the money that they need. So I have one teacher in particular who has contacted me a few times, where she's been teaching for a number of years, a very long time, and she is not sure she wants to go back. And part of the reason is her classroom, by the end of the school day, she teaches in a small portable. She has 31 students, so each one of her periods of her classes are at capacity or overloaded, and she teaches in a small portable, and by the end of the day, the temperature in her classroom is 94 degrees. Now, here these students are expected to compete and be able to keep up with the standards, yet they're in sweltering heat. So for her, she's tried bringing an air conditioner to the school. She's offered to provide her own air conditioner for her classroom, for her students, and she was told no, because DOE won't pay for the electricity. That's just outrageous to me. I'm sorry. You know, why aren't our schools covered in solar panels? You know, so yes, there needs to be an examination and an audit to figure out what exactly is going on and how we can improve for our students.
Well, I feel that, I want to call it, I don't know if the word is right, a ferocious desire to see change. You've seen things kind of going on, and you're looking to get in there because you want to mix the pot up. You
That's
want
right.
to stir it up.
Yes.
And stir it up not in any kind of antagonistic way. You want to get there and kind of get things going on.
Bring a positive change for Hawaii in general, but yes, for Maui. Maui needs that focus.
Any things that, if I were to say, what do you want to be sure that when you get office you accomplish? Some basic things that.
So some basic things, you know, for me it's really taking it back to the people and being sure that the people have their voices represented there at the state level. Right now that doesn't seem to be happening. And also, you know, getting that corporate money out of there. Now people want labeling. The majority of the population here in the state wants clear food labeling. I don't think that's too much to ask. Let's give a label for the food. You know, why should our small farmers bear the burden of the cross to prove that they're organic, yet our big corporations are able to get rid of, you know, get all these tax breaks and loopholes, and then say, oh, well, we can't afford to put a label on our food.
Well, I heard actually from another candidate that the Attorney General in the state thought it was a federal issue. So it's a pass the buck game.
Yeah.
Excuse my French. That's what I often feel. That if they don't have to make a decision and be the one on record for standing for something, they'd rather not.
That's right. Well, I have no problem standing up and being that place where the buck stops here, you know.
You don't look like Harry Truman.
No, but you know, there needs to be accountability, and there really needs to be transparency. You know, it's severely lacking. The last time I tried to ask a direct question, I got that same little dance around. Well, shoot, just answer the question. You know, be straightforward.
Have you had opportunity to sit with other candidates in your race and somehow, I always wonder, the public probably is hungry to see all of you in one place, and they have forums, but I never know what's being taken. Got to be more than a couple of questions. Have you ever had that go on yet?
No, that opportunity has not been presented yet. The closest we got to that was the KCA meeting, but that was set up in such a way that the incumbents were featured one month and then the challengers were featured the following month.
Separated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, unfortunately, that's the way it was arranged. It was a little unfair to the incumbents, I'll say that, because they weren't really presented with the opportunity that they were campaigning, whereas the challengers were allowed to really be campaigning.
I see.
Yeah. So I would like to see that equal forum where we can all sit down and let's talk about the issues. Let's really be upfront.
So I would say, I don't know if I would say, I often myself said if I could find someone in these offices that was doing what I felt needed to be done, I wouldn't run. Would you say you're doing it because you feel there's something missing and you'd like to see that change?
That's right. I feel like the people's voice is not adequately being represented, and I do want to see that change. I want to see the power given to the people who elect us as senators and representatives and, you know, all these various government positions. Our role is to be a civil servant. We're there to advocate for the people on their behalf. And I don't feel that's happening, and that is why I decided to run. It's important. So that's my focus.
Well, I'm really happy that there are people. You guys won't understand. Young people. You have
Except I'm not
kids,
so
but-
young. Yeah,
well,
my youngest one's 13 and my oldest is 19. I have 4 of them. So
see, I'm just old. You could be my daughter. How about that?
Okay.
But what I mean is, it's nice to me, when I look around in most things around here, I see old people, meaning the young people need to be more active. And young, you're in that category.
Yes.
I'm very happy to see
Well, thank
that
you.
there's spirit in our youth, because I kind of seen it kind of washed out, and most people are kind of, politics, we're not going to be able to make a difference. I don't need to vote.
And you know, I've always voted, but that has been my mentality in the past. You know, it's like, oh, well, don't even talk to me about politics. You know, it's broken. We can't fix it. But you know, now that I'm a little older, I'm like, wait a minute, we can fix this. And the momentum is growing. You know, we've seen a number of young people starting to get involved, and it's amazing. Now, for me personally, I'm middle-aged. I'm not so young, you know. But my role is really to pave the way for the next generation, because that's what this is about. It's not about us today. It's really about looking down the road and preserving our land and our beautiful island for our children and our great-grandchildren and the generations that aren't even conceived of yet. You know, we only have one Maui. We got to protect it.
And here's a funny question, and I don't know if there's a good answer. Recently, the Department of Interior
Okay.
came here, and they were trying to ask some questions of the Hawaiian people to be able to talk about OHA, setting up something for the Hawaiians, sort of in a, I want to say a
Tribal recognition.
And there was a huge, some say for the first time, coordinated effort by Hawaiians to make it clear to the Department of Interior that we want our country back.
That's right.
Any thoughts about that? Obviously, we're here in America, but I just thought, just to get a hit on that.
It's particularly interesting to me. My children are part Hawaiian, so this impacts them as well. You know, there's a lot that's broken and needs to be fixed, and I don't necessarily agree that the OHA's approach and the Department of the Interior's approach is the correct way. You know, it needs to be brought back to the people, and the people need to come together with one voice. And once they have one voice, then we begin advocating and working on what we can actually do to make things right.
Sounds like you could be a representative for the nation of Hawaii or the United States.
You know, I would be
You're
happy
really
to work with them. Yeah, I mean, we need to work together. I think a senator's role quite often is about mediation more than anything, because you need to bring people together from all sides of the issue to sit down and really figure out what's best for everybody. You know, I just don't see that happening very often lately.
Anything specifically, because I think you've been on a campaign trail and you're still on it.
I'm still on
I
it.
feel very fortunate to have been able to get some time here with you. I'm the one that brought her here to the shops at Wailea. I thought, this is a nice, beautiful spot. We got a little green behind us. She's been running. You were to see the seniors today, huh?
Today I was at the Kupuna Aloha Luncheon. It was held at the Grand. There were about 812 seniors, as I understand it. And it was a lot of fun, you know. They got together, they had a lunch, and they were brought in from all around the island. So I got to meet a number of very nice people and pass out tomatoes.
You guys know that, right? Terez Amato?
Yeah, you say tomato, I say tomato.
Get that? That's a great way to remember.
Yeah.
These are challenging times, and no matter what election results we see, I know that the people out there want to know new leaders. And if you're fortunate enough to be our state senator,
Yes.
I know that everyone will come together and give you a level of support that I would say is unrivaled, because you are local and you have a spirit that a lot of people have been really,
Thank
really
you.
excited about.
That's a very nice compliment. Thank you. I mean, really, it's about working together, and I'd like to see more collaboration between the state and the county. Sometimes it feels like the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing, and we need more of that. We need more collaboration, and if I can be that voice and help bring people together, then yay, I feel like I've won. And even if I'm not elected, if I can help bring people together so that we're focused and working to create the best island we have, then that's what it's all about, just doing our best and always leaving our surroundings better than we perceived them and inherited them.
See, if she was my daughter, I'd say, good going.
Thanks. I'll share the compliment with my mom.
That's right. Ooh, wasn't it?
There we go.
Aha. That was an interesting jump. Okay. As you can tell, we travel light here in television land. Okay. Technology keeps moving, and I'm sure you've seen it.
Yeah.
Your kids are probably wizards on the computer, right?
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes I'm quicker than them. I've been playing with the computer since I was in 3rd grade. I just love computers. So sometimes I teach them a few things, but they're pretty quick when it comes to an iPhone.
What do they think of what's happening these days? You ever get any words from kids, them and their friends, of what they think?
Yeah, they feel like it's pretty hopeless. Now, my 19-year-old, she decided that she just had to leave Maui. She just felt like there weren't any opportunities for her here. And it's disappointing because it's that way for a number of our students, our children, and we're supposed to be able to be one Ohana and provide for our youth and give them hope for the future. And it's sad that that's not happening, and so it's about getting them involved and getting them encouraged and inspired and willing to take an active role in their community. It needs to happen. And it starts from a young age. Yeah.
Thank you for taking precious, precious time.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you. This has been fun. Thank you.
Thank you guys for joining us. We hope this helps you make your decision on who you'd like to vote for.
Thank you.
Some say tomato, some say tomato.
I'm Terez Amato. Thank you.
Thank you. Aloha.
Aloha. So the primary race.
We decided to come back for a second because Terez wanted to tell you something that we think is very important.
Yeah, so the future of Maui, in this election, you have a choice. Either we can stick with the status quo and make the same old choice and not change anything, or you can vote to make a new decision, a new choice. That's the only real question in this election is, do you want to keep with the same old, or do you want to go with a new approach where we have a future that's vibrant and thriving? And the decision will really be decided on Saturday, August 9th in the primary.
Many of you who think, primary is not important. For this candidate, primary is important, and a number of the candidates.
For a number of the candidates, the primary is often the most important election in the state. Yes.
So please, get
Vote.
yourself out there and vote.
On Saturday, August 9th. Thank
Okay.
you.
Aloha.
Do you want a senator who's working for the people, or one who's working for the corporations and lobbyists? Vote for Terez Amato on Saturday, August 9th.
My spokesman.
Who was that masked man?
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Aloha.
Aloha.